Hey guys, welcome to another Monster Hunter guide video discussion. We're taking a look today at the 9-star Mizutsune. That is part of the new title update, which brings us 9-star monsters. I'm going to get into some of the specifics of the fight and just my overall impressions with 9-star hunts. But before I do, if you guys like the content, please consider subscribing. If you're new to Monster Hunter, fear not, I have a very, very extensive playlist. I will put a link to that in the description box below. Lots of guides, tutorials, tips, tricks to get you up to speed on where endgame currently is. All right, so I just found a random pickup group, jumped in, started doing some Mizutsune. I was screwing around with the old buzzy axe, right? Just having some fun. Mizutsune is honestly very, very difficult in bursts. And I will say that a lot of people, at least in my experience, I've hunted this dude about 6 times. A lot of people are underestimating Mizutsune. I think a lot of people are thinking, well, you know, I was overpowered in 8, so I should be perfectly fine at 9. That is not the case. I am wearing almost completely maxed out gear. I believe I get carded in this fight. I don't remember. I did a lot. I recorded for like 5 hours. I just picked one that looked good. So we'll look at it together. But I got pretty much maxed out armor at this point. And this dude slaps hard. But it's in bursts. And as you're watching the fight, kind of keep this in the back of your mind. Mizutsune has always been a very aggressive fight if you want it to be. Primarily because, unlike some of the other monsters you'll fight in the game, Mizutsune is pretty soft just about everywhere. Every so often you'll clink a little bit on kind of some of like the rib cage, the back part of the rib cage. For the most part, if you want to be a tail hunter, if you want to be a head hunter, you want to go for the feet, you're going to have a good time with it. And I think people get that sense of just burning it down as fast as possible. And it's that whole idea of burning it down as fast as possible, which ultimately I think lead to a lot of demises. And I've been playing primarily pickup groups. I just hit the SOS flare, whatever material I'm kind of looking for at the time, I pin it, and then I'll just jump on that group. I don't know what we're fighting, but whatever. This just happened to be a Mizutsune. Because I'm working on those, look at those really cool dual blades. I think that's the next weapon I want to kind of get familiar with. I think I've kind of had my fun with charged blade. It's fun, but it's not like the best. I'm still a sword and board guy. But I'm like, I want to try dual blades next. And Mizutsune's got a really cool pair of double swords, and I want to start getting into that. So, been hunting this guy. But if you look at all the data mining and everything right now, Mizutsune is actually probably the easiest fight you can do if you're just basically a trinket hunter, because the way they kind of rebalance the health, they try to get all the monster health to around 40,000 HP. They got pretty close for the most part. But Mizutsune, when you kind of compare it to the other 9-star monsters, is on the easier side because he's a punching bag. Or she, I don't know. It's a punching bag. There's not a lot of phases to the fight. You don't have like the Legiacris underwater phase or, you know, some of the Arcveld expand, contrast kind of stuff, right? Mizutsune is just get in there and start banging, and that's fun. But what I wanted to say was that don't let your guard down with this one. He has the ability to go Super Saiyan rapidly, and it will hurt your day. Now, as far as I can tell across the board with 9-star hunts, nothing has changed. Yeah, I did card. Nothing has changed in terms of moveset. I was curious if they were going to add some additional moves or some different looks. They have not. But they've done 2 things specifically. One, they have greatly increased the aggression of monsters. So if you are like me and you are a solo hunter, be ready to block and roll and dodge way more than you used to. Those windows in which you're going to be able to punish a monster have diminished greatly in this fight and in all fights, because monster aggression is turned up to like 50. And the second thing they've added, which I think kind of goes without saying, monsters now hit way harder than they did before. You know, going into 8, you could be sloppy. You really could. I think 9 is really the first gauge of endgame skill. Armor alone is not going to win you a fight. You're going to have to be cognizant of enemy attacks. You're going to have to be cognizant of your placement in the battlefield, your buffs, everything. You need to be ready to go. because this enemy and pretty much all 9-star enemies will hurt you very, very quickly. And I am wearing pretty much maxed out armor at this point. I think I'm like maybe 1 armor sphere low, or like 1 level low on like my chest piece. But I basically spent every single mat I had to kind of get ready for this because I knew this wouldn't be a joke, and it's not. So you're watching people cart like crazy in this. I mean, obviously you just saw me do it. Beware if you're jumping into a support group and people aren't kind of taking it seriously and people are carting very quickly, you're going to be in for a bad time. I almost would recommend at this point now with this endgame stuff, you're probably better off playing alone if you can't find a dedicated friend on comms that you can kind of talk to and work with, because these monsters will punish you. And Mizutsune, I think, is a perfect embodiment of that. And the reason I wanted to specifically highlight on this fight amongst all the 9 stars that I've been kind of chipping my way through, just amulet crafting and collecting, right? Mizutsune seems like not a bad fight at first. You know, yeah, you got a couple of the bubbles, sure, you got a little water sprout here and there, but for the most part, there's not a ton of AoE attacks. There's really not a lot to worry about, and you can see even here, look at these long punishing windows. I mean, we're talking upwards of 15 seconds at times, where the enemy is kind of just like hanging out, resetting, thinking about like what they're doing for dinner. I don't know. You have a lot of these kind of like, oh, the AI just turned off. We've entered the Matrix, you know, let's get in there and bang kind of thing. But then just as quickly as that happens, this sucker starts flipping, spraying water, and just going Saiyan. And if you are pinned in a corner, or you're in between health, or you're doing something else, and you get caught, you're dead. That's all there is to it. That's the only advantage I can think of playing with the current meta of like the pickup group. You can kind of spread out. Like you just saw that whole exchange. I basically went through everything I needed to craft and, you know, take my potion and kind of check myself and okay, now I'm ready to get back in the fight. During the entire time, which my teammates are, you know, still punishing, right? But if you're trying to like do this on your own, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to do a lot of sacred, because this thing just doesn't let up. And then there's these phases where it does. So be cognizant of that. I think the aggression has really put a kind of like a stamp on that in terms of like punches and bunches, but I mean radical bunches and radical punches. Mizutsune also obviously has some status effects that could be cast on you, which are aggravating as well. So if you think like you're on like, I'd say 70% health or less, honestly, you probably want to peel off and top off, just because of how punishing this enemy can be very quickly. Now, in my whole experience of fighting this thing, and like I said, a lot of people are kind of grinding through this one right now because it's one of the quote-unquote easier ones. In my experience of fighting Mizutsunes, I will say that generally, there's only a few attacks you need to specifically be aware of, and you'll know when they're coming. Usually it sets up with those kind of bubble attacks. That's kind of just set the pace. And if you watch my other videos where I was hunting like Legiacris, for example, you'll notice that enemies like to herd you, and this continues in this 9-star stuff. I think we're really starting to see that kind of hidden mechanic of monster herding that we didn't really see or understand, or maybe even respect, honestly, in some of the previous lower tier hunts. This guy is going to set you up to destroy you. He's going to do that bubble attack where he's going to basically AoE some bubbles around you. They're pretty easy to avoid. But what it does is it sets you up immediately for that spin swirl attack, which is almost usually followed by a very, very vicious tail slam or a tail swipe. So be cognizant of that when you're fighting. You want to be out in the open. I think it's easy to just kind of get stuck in damage mode where you're just smashing your attack key as fast as humanly possible and you're not really worried about the retaliation or the punishment. But I think in a situation like this with this particular enemy where you're working through multiple phases and attacking, you're going to want to be ready to move quickly, and it does tend to kind of stockpile on you quickly. So Mizutsune also, I think, unlike some of the other monsters you're going to fight in here, again, because of that false sense of security, has the ability to kind of sneak up on you a little bit. I mean, obviously, a big monster like this isn't going to like sneak up and you're like, oh, hey, I didn't see you there. But you'll get lost in kind of the sauce. It's easy to just tunnel vision with this enemy and to just go absolutely Rambo very, very quickly and just kind of lose yourself in attacking and kind of lose awareness of the environment around you. Some of the turf wars with Mizutsune are nuts. I was doing one the other day where an Arkveld came by. Oh my god, the damage that these two enemies were putting out, there were broken parts everywhere. It was insane. Didn't even see it on the map. I wasn't really looking at the mini-map. I was basically focusing more on, you know, kind of what I was doing. So be cognizant of that. It is a capturable monster, which is nice. So, you know, pick your favorite trap and get ready to capture. He drops off quickly, though. I didn't see a whole lot of time between skull and actual, like, you know, death. Now, again, playing with multiple people, that envelope for damage comes quickly, and those punishing phases do, you know, bundle up very quickly, especially when you're playing with, like, a hammer bro or somebody with, like, a big two-hander. Like, they're going to punish this thing. If it's just standing there, they're going to absolutely smack the crap out of it very, very rapidly. But it did drop down very, very quickly. I felt like, you know, I was thinking, like, hey, maybe I should capture... Oh, it's over. That could have just been me not paying attention to the minimap, but I think because of the nature of this enemy being squishy all over, you know, you have that opportunity. Now, in terms of just general combat strategies, we wrap up this video here. Stay fluid, top at 70%, and be ready. Do not get lulled into that false sense of, like, the game turned off. It did not, I promise you. If that tail swipe hit me, I would have died. And, I mean, you saw how far it blew me away. It's the bubbles, it's the twist, instantly into a tail swipe, sometimes into a tail slam, and there you go. I'm already completely low health again. So you're going to be a secret dude, for sure. You're going to call that sacred, like, constantly, because you're going to want to get out of dodge as soon as you can. But I think overall, I enjoyed this fight. I think it's a great entryway fight into 9, because it's still more of the same. It's still more of what we've done. Again, there's no new movesets or anything like that, but you're seeing attacks in a very different way, and this fight is radically different than the Tier 8 fight where you fight Mizutsune, where it's more just kind of like a beatdown. This one actually was a lot of ebbs and flows, and I like that. And I think if we can get more hunts like this moving on as we progress in through the rest of the Season 9, this 9-star monsters, and I think as we can continue to see some of the more challenging hunts, I think it's going to kind of put more of an emphasis on utilizing environmental damage. I think it's going to put more of an emphasis on have your situational awareness and not just running in with 3/4 health, but actually really like, okay, I probably have to top off before this engagement because of that nasty one-hit kill potential. But fun fight overall. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be doing more as time goes on. This was just one to kind of talk generally about 9, but some Mizutsune stuff. I think I want to take on Arkveld next. Arkveld looks pretty nasty and got by far the biggest set of buffs from 8 to 9, so that'll probably be my next hunt, but I wanted to grind this a little more to get those really cool dual blades, and who knows, maybe in the next video I'll be rocking them and, you know, we'll put the sword and board aside for a while. I don't know. Remains to be seen. That'll wrap up today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Get out there, play Monster Hunter. Again, check out my playlist below. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below as well. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.